Okay, so today I'm going to demonstrate how to finish your 1-point perspective city drawings, okay? So these are the two I worked on last time, talking about value. So once you are finished with your value, check in, and then you are ready to add your sky to your scene. So whatever your sky has turned out, think about how you would like to incorporate this. I'm going to show you how you would incorporate and cut out both of these perspectives. With any of the three, the first thing you want to do is find your horizon line. So with the boy's perspective, it's pretty simple because it's going to be the edges of my buildings, okay? I suggest that you use a pen or a very dark pencil and just simply trace along your outline here before you actually cut anything out. So you can kind of isolate and see where your line of cutting is going to be. So I'm going to turn this one here on the side and do the same thing, okay? This will help you to be prepared for where you're going to cut with your X-Acto knife. So I've just kind of darkened the edge there with a black pen. With the 1-point bird's eye perspective, you can see I've already gone along those lines, okay? You can choose to cut this out with scissors, or you can choose to use an X-Acto knife. These are at my desk. The policy for an X-Acto knife is you need to give me a collateral. I only have a few of them for the class, and you need to use a healing mat anytime you use an X-Acto knife. This is so that you don't cut through your paper onto the table because they're very sharp. So if you want to use an X-Acto knife, you need to come up to my desk and get both a healing mat and an X-Acto knife. You will see there is a lid on these. Keep the lid on them whenever you are walking around with them. Okay, so I'm going to place the healing mat under the area I'm going to cut. I'm going to remove the lid on my X-Acto knife, okay? If you look at the X-Acto knife, you have the blade, which is pointed, and then you have a vertical or horizontal, rather, part of the blade. That is the top, so you always need to have the angled part down, okay? And then what I'm going to do is make sure my healing mat is directly under my paper surface, press down, and just draw along. And you can feel that it kind of is cutting into the healing mat. You'll be able to tell that it's going through. And you can see it's going to cut very quickly, but it's going to give you a very accurate cut, and it will help you get into those really tight little spaces easier than scissors will, all right? So if you are somebody who is going to cut out a window or something, I suggest that you first draw the window, outline where you're going to cut with a black pen, or some other color that is different than what you have, okay? And then you need to cut that out with an X-Acto knife. It's just going to be easier. Now I'm going to leave this connected to my other picture just because I want these things to stay together. Make sure you are paying attention as you are cutting so you don't cut something you don't want to cut. Key to making this easier is always cut through your corners. So if you notice, I drew past my corner here so that I know when I make my next cut, I start before that corner. Same thing we did with the clay. If you cut through your corners, then you are not going to have pieces that don't want to come off later. So it's important to do that to make it more efficient. Okay. And now I have some curved areas here, so I'm just going to drag this along my black line, making sure that I'm keeping it on my healing mat. The healing mat also helps you to guide this because it's cutting into the healing mat essentially, and so it's like giving it a track to follow, and it will help it to stay intact. Okay. So I'm going to kind of check here to see how all of my cuts are coming out. Okay, looks like I have one little corner that is not all the way cut through. So if that happens, kind of check instead of just pulling the paper and tearing it. Okay, and then go back in and recut it if you need to. All right, so now I have removed all of the white negative area of my paper. So if you have this one, you can see it starts looking very 3D already. Okay, so now I'm going to go down and cut here for the boy's eye perspective. All right, so you're going to take your X-Acto knife and just trace along whatever you've outlined, again, cutting through the corners. I tend to turn this, so if I'm going to be cutting vertically, I turn my hand vertically. It just makes your cut more efficient. Okay, so pretty much you're just cutting along your horizon line of your buildings there, okay? Just like that. Okay, I'm gonna leave these two attached. So I'm gonna make a quick little guideline there. Alrighty, so we're gonna go over here now. I'm gonna just position them back on there. If you have little things you need to cut out, like here I had this nice little post. Sometimes when you turn this often, you will notice the blade loosens. If that happens, just stop, check, and you're going to tighten right here where this little diamond texture ribbon is, and that's just how you replace the blades. Okay, you can see it's a little bit faster cutting out the skyline if you just have a boy's eye view because there's less detail. Okay, all right, so now once you're done, make sure you recap your X-Acto knife and bring it back up as soon as you finish so that somebody else can use it. Then the last step here is to position these onto your painted sky background, okay? Since I have kind of a half version, I'm gonna place it on there. Ooh, and I just love that effect, okay? So really interesting, pops things out, gives us another fun medium to incorporate. Once you have it lined up where you want it to go, for most of you, this paper is the same size as your drawing paper, so you simply are gonna line up the corners. We're gonna use glue sticks to place these down. We don't want to use Elmer's liquid glue. It will make your drawings be all bubbly. So please do double check that you are doing that correctly and only use a glue stick. Once you're done with your glue stick, make sure to turn the knob down and recap it. Okay, so I'm going to place both of these on your background so you can kind of see how they would look. Line up the two bottom corners with my painted and just kind of press. Try not to smudge because you'll smudge your pencil. Okay. Then we'll do kind of a little example of how the bird's eye view one would look. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this extra piece I had saved there. And you'll do the same thing with that one. You will need to put a glue stick on it. I suggest you put a little scratch sheet of paper or something so that you don't get glue on the table and so that you also don't get glue onto your background. So I just put a little scratch sheet there and I'm going to kind of move it around as I place my glue stick on the edges. Yours, again, is going to be quite a bit bigger, right? Because I'm doing like a half size version of yours so that I could do two examples of what you could look like. All right. So I've placed the glue all the way around, bring back my background, line up my road. If you've made a road with the edges of your paper might be more landscape or horizontal because that's what you've chosen. Okay. So kind of gives us this interesting effect. So here's a little close-up of what the bird's eye view final product would look like. We have it cut out along the edges and we've glued down our painted background behind it. And then here's a little close-up of possibly what your boy's eye perspective might look like, where you have the painted background glued behind your building edges, okay? All right, thank you guys for listening. Remember, if you're somebody who has something different, you may need to check in with me. For example, I could have cut out this doorway and had this be another place where my background would be exposed. And some of you might be doing something like that as well with a window. So, all right, thank you.